Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and we have a very exciting video for today. We got Hurricane Sam on the table, and we're going to be talking all about it today, latest updates, and who could potentially be majorly impacted by this as well. Before we get started though, be sure to like and subscribe, as it does help my channel grow, and trust me, a lot of people are going to need to see this video because we're going to be talking about 3 different land masses that have some sort of potential to be impacted by the system. We're going to go through them all today. So looking at the National Hurricane Center, all right, forecast track here for, okay, I don't know why I have maroon red. I'll change that to regular red. We have Hurricane Sam here, winds of 85 miles per hour, okay. Went through a brief period where just like kind of paused strengthening earlier. It has resumed its strengthening, rapidly strengthening, in fact. I mean, we're up to 85 mile an hour hurricane. Barely was a tropical storm yesterday during the day. So, and we got winds gusting well into Category 2 strength as well for wind gusts. Pressure is down to 986 millibars. Of course, that's been dropping. I think like yesterday it was like well into the 1,000. So it's definitely been coming down a lot. And it's forecast to be a major hurricane by 2 p.m. Eastern on the 25th, which is tomorrow. All right, and then strengthening into a 140 mile an hour Category 4. All right, around 2 p.m. on the 26th. Now naturally, as the hurricane said, they're going to level it off and, you know, keep it as like a high-end Cat 3. But we know that this could very well be a Cat 5. Because if you looked at the National Hurricane Center like late yesterday, they were saying, oh, yeah, maybe it'll top out at like a Cat 3. Now they're saying it's going to be well into a Cat 4. So these major hurricanes, they are unpredictable, of course, rapid intensification. Now, one little change, if you notice, this was even in the cone from earlier today, is that you notice Sam goes on a westerly path, then sort of takes a northwesterly turn, right? I mean, that really hasn't changed. But what you might notice now that you might not have noticed yesterday is how it goes to the north and west or so, or west-northwest-ish, but then takes a left turn, right? It kind of, if you look closely, it does kind of bend to the left, because if you were to extend this, all right, further, it would go this way, pretty much in a straight line, right? Or imagine something like that. In a straight line, but no, it actually does bend it to the left a little bit. So that we'll be watching too. So even if it does miss the islands, maybe it's on another path towards the United States, and maybe that's what the National Hurricane Center is trying to point out here. A little bend to the left. Doesn't guarantee a U.S. impacts. I'm just saying it is in the realm of possible. Now, we do have a pretty big wind field. I don't think like what we saw with Larry, all right, or even Henri had a pretty big wind field too. But Winfield has grown, right? I mean, you can see the difference between these 2 dots here and these 2 dots here. You can see the gap between these 2 is definitely bigger than the gap when it first formed. All right, so Winfield's been expanding. All right, and of course, we do have that little sliver where the hurricane force winds are. Not a very large area yet. All right, I mean, even overall, all right, the wind field isn't that big. And of course, it would be nice to see it to scale. Right, but the wind field is not that big yet. Let's look here at the tropical storm force wind probabilities, and you can see the northern Leeward Islands, you guys do have a chance. So that's what I want to stress about that. There is a chance. Earliest reasonable arrival time would be during the day Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe even lingering into Thursday. All right, because the most likely arrival times here, all right, are like early Wednesday morning and then through the day Wednesday and into Thursday. As when the most likely arrival time of those winds are if they were to arrive. All right. Now you can see, look how we just see, you know, this area just gets so wide, right? Like we got chances of tropical storm force winds up here and even some down in the central Leeward Islands. There's somewhat of a chance, right? Above 5%. Now, the reason that's expanding has 2 reasons. Obviously, number 1 is because the cone gets wider with time, but also the wind field will be expanding because eventually most, if not all, like of these rapidly intensifying hurricanes that get to a 3, 4, or 5 are probably going to go into what's called an eye wall replacement cycle, where we have an eye wall, the main eye wall that I'll show you on the satellite in a very little bit. Actually, here, I'll show it now. You can see, right, the eye wall, and there's a little eye that briefly formed, all right? It was like the second to last frame. I'll show you a brief eye did form right about there. And then it sort of kind of collapsed in. All right, and that's okay, because remember, this just became a hurricane, and it's going pretty fast. It's kind of like when you're, you know, if you're working out, if you're on a treadmill, for example, and you push yourself too hard, it's going to hurt yourself. All right, well, this is rapidly strengthening. So it tried to form an eye, it sort of collapsed, and it's still trying to form it again. You can see on the last frame. They're kind of like right in the middle. It's trying to form it again. But an eye did form not too long ago. So this inner eyeball that we see right now and an outer eyeball is trying to form outside of that. So if the inner eyeball collapses and we get an eyeball replacement cycle, and then we're going to see the other eyeball get replaced and the storm's wind field will expand. We did see that with a recent storm that we had. And that was Ida that went through that eyeball replacement cycle when it pretty much got right on shore, and that allowed for the wind field to expand. So eyeball replacement cycle can lead to the strengthening or the expanding wind field of a system and temporary weakening and then re-strengthening. But look at these blacks and grays, how they just kind of rotate around this center. I mean, I can sit here and watch this all day. You can see rotating. It doesn't stop. Like, this thing is clearly like deepening in strength. I mean, it's clear to see. And for just becoming a hurricane, the fact that it's already like forming a decent eye and didn't really maintain it, but it did put a good effort into forming an eye, and that's really significant too. Visible satellite imagery. All right, let's put this into play mode right there. All right, I will stop it, of course, right before it went dark, because obviously it's visible satellite. You can see these overshooting cloud tops right there. Now, keep in mind, to the north here and to the southeast here, these are already overshooting cloud tops enough as it is. But when you see these two little areas right here that kind of like pop out at you, almost looks 3D, yeah, that's when you know those cloud tops are overshooting even higher than the ones already look impressive over here. All right, then I would not be surprised if 90 plus mile an hour or 100 plus mile an hour, even sustained winds might be clocked with this. All right, would not surprise me. Remember, all the updates we're getting is every 6 hours instead of every 3 hours, because it's well over 1,200 miles away from the Leeward Islands right now. And hurricane hunters will be flying into this over the weekend or maybe even Monday, so we'll really get an idea then too. But even just like the main part, like this kind of like this part of the hurricane I want to show right here, you can even see it's almost like those deeper clouds are even expanding outward too. So I mean, this thing is just living, it is breathing without shear. All right, so let's take these models. Let's take a look at these models. That black line that's hidden there, where it says OFCL, I know it's very hard to see. You probably can't see it, but that's the National Hurricane Center official track. And you got these models that do take it close, but not a direct impact on the Leeward Islands. And the CLP5 takes it closest, quote unquote, to the islands, and the TAVD takes it farthest. Now, then again, you can pretty much draw sort of a cone, your own cone from this if you wanted to. So something like this. All right. Now, we cannot guarantee direct impacts to the Leeward Islands. What I pretty much can guarantee you guys at this point is that there will be significant waves and rip currents. I mean, even if this was like tracking up here or up here, all right, there will probably be waves even then and swells. I mean, you got storms like Larry, for example, that passed east of Bermuda and still gave big waves to the East Coast. So, I mean, pretty much no doubt at this point for Leeward Island, you're going to see some big waves, swells, rip currents, maybe even a sprinkle of coastal flooding. But rain, heavy rain and wind and surge associated with the hurricane, that we cannot guarantee yet. And hopefully it does make a pass to the north. But like the National Hurricane Center track showed, like earlier, it could bed north and miss the islands, but what if it makes a little turn back to the left? Or it could just keep going and straight for the east coast of the United States, keeps on that northwest path. All these are possibilities. All right. For example, look at the European ensemble track guidance, and the Canadian is thrown in there. All right. And spoiler alert, almost looks like oddly similar to Henri, what the Canadian is showing. All right. Kind of like a track right towards the east coast and then bending back in. Like literally almost like Henri, exactly, except a little bit further to the east. All right. And almost kind of reminds you of Sandy too. But I just want to say, so here's the official track of the Hurricane Center. And if you were to, I mean, I can't speak for the National Hurricane Center, but if you were to extend this, it would probably do something like this to some degree. A lot of tracks are to the left. I would say most tracks are either what the Hurricane Center and all the other models are saying. The majority do keep it on shore, or offshore, yes. But there is a decent amount that keep it to the left of Bermuda. And anything to the left of Bermuda is a possible threat to the United States. And I'll show you in the models later why, like these models saying there's a bend to the left, they're not crazy. Like I know there's a lot of crazy models like this one that brings it like in the southernmost part of the Caribbean. Okay, maybe that might be wrong, but that bend back to the left, that's actually like a valid hypothesis and a valid possibility. And I'll show you why in a little bit. Early cycle intensity. All right, looks like, I think we got some updates to this. Either that or it just changed color. But a good chunk of models, most models do have it leveling off as a high Cat 3, maybe a low end 4, and just flattening out from there. Now, again, that could be because they really think that, or because there's just uncertainty. Because we know, when Sam was a depression or storm, I'm sorry about that. When Sam was a depression or a storm, and the models were like, oh yeah, maybe we'll get up to Cat 1, 2, and flatten out. Now they're saying, okay, maybe a 3 and flatten out. I mean, before you know it, they'll take it up to Category 10, right? I'm kidding, but you do get the point that they could get stronger than what is forecast, all right? Even though Category 3/4 does seem like pretty reasonable at this moment, all right? Shift diagnostic message, again, wind shear will be low, like almost nothing. Sea surface temperatures will be above 80 and even maybe getting closer to mid-80s. And heat content will be between 40 and 60, all right, in the next few days or so. So something to watch out for. Water temperatures currently, where the low is about 83, pretty much closer to 84, right? Let me see, 84, even 85, just south of the low center. Honestly, if it was another 50, 100 miles south and this current down here, it would be a lot stronger for sure. Like if it was like right down here. So it would probably be well into a Cat 2 because these waters are 86. And no doubt that it will be getting into those deeper oranges, right? Those deeper oranges sort of go like this. So it's only a matter of time before it enters even warmer water than it's in now. Not going to be bath water. It won't be upper 80s. It won't be low 90s like some storms have gone through this season. Won't be complete bath water, but mid 80s is more than enough to support strengthening, if not rapid strengthening, especially if the wind shear is low like it is in this case. All right. Now, let's model it out. I am going to go to the models on Chocolate Tidbits as well, but I'm on Windy to show you, all right, what is happening at different levels of the atmosphere. I like doing it for this reason. All right, so we're going to model it. So here's the European model. This is the low center right here at the surface. All right, let's go up to 5,000 feet. And you can see pretty much the low is in the exact same area, meaning that it is getting vertically stacked. There's no vertical shear, or at least very, very low vertical shear that could be, throw in the mid-level center, like over here. All right, it's not doing that, obviously, because it's a hurricane. If it was doing that, it probably wouldn't be a hurricane right now. Now, let's go up to the upper levels of the atmosphere and show you the wind shear. All right. Now, this may look like wind shear to you, all right, but notice the shear, it's kind of like going around the system like this, whatever winds are up at the upper levels. All right, near the core of the storm, wind shear is very weak. All right, and these upper level winds could be generated by the storm itself, right? Like if you saw these kind of winds cutting across the system directly like this, then yeah, that's wind shear. But no, it's kind of like we kind of see the winds kind of going around like this and around like this. So it's almost like an upper level high. It's trying to it is parked itself right over this system. You can pretty much see the center of that high right there. And that's kind of, keeping it calm in the upper levels. Obviously, if it was a surface high, I don't think we really have too much of a system. But now it's in an upper level high that actually helps the system because it keeps the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere weak, therefore keeping the wind shear weak as well. All right, now that's for right now. All right, we're definitely going to go out in time a little bit. Let's fast forward. It's like Monday rush hour-ish in the morning, all right? We got a low center kind of right in there, all right? And then we go up to 5,000 feet. You can see pretty much in the same spot. We go up to the upper levels of the atmosphere. Now, again, it may look like a lot of shear, but no. The low center is in the same spot, even at 250 millibars. Like, this is like 30, 40,000 feet or so. And the low is in these, that just proves to you how tall these thunderstorms are getting. The fact that we can still have the center in the exact same spot from the surface, which is right here, all the way up to 30, 40,000 plus feet. Like that is pretty insane. All right, we still have upper level high pressure parked over it, and that's going to help to keep it, to help strengthen it. Again, that orange that's like wind generated by the system. That is not wind shear. I know it may look like it. All right, Getting into the actual models, we have the cyclone vorticity signature, and we have the 500 millibar heights. All right, now GFS, and there is another low behind that one, by the way. We watch it for development, and Teresa, subtropical storm Teresa. But anyway, you can see that goes into Canada. But if we look at Sam, right, this is Wednesday afternoon, and it may just be passing. It may even take until Thursday for it to pass at the same longitude of the islands. All right, there it is, right there. Now, it's all going to be about two things for the steering. One is this low, aka this trough off the East Coast. All right, what does that do? Also, high over here, got high pressure over here. Now, in this scenario where the high pressure is here, oops, sorry about that, and we have a low pressure here, it's kind of going like that, you can probably guess where this is going, right? In a way, I mean, it's probably going to be going offshore, all right? And it is. Now, it still takes you east of Bermuda. You look at the 12Z run, kind of does the same thing. Got a low here, and we got another low here too. So that kind of helps, like, because remember, the low pressure flows this way. So they're sort of both like protecting, they're kind of like shielding the East Coast. And the fact they got the high here kind of puts the icing on the cake. That just takes it out to sea. All right, that's the GFS model. Now remember, this will still bring with it, if this were to play out exactly, this will still bring waves and swells to the East Coast. And even a pretty close pass to our friends in Newfoundland up there. So we'll have to watch out for you guys. Again, if you look at the 500 millibar steering, all right, it kind of speaks for itself. All right, there is a little high that tries to form to the north of it, right? But if that high forms off to the east, that's just going to allow the trapdoor to open still. But if the high is parked over it to the north, that is what keeps it in western motion. It's just not like, okay, yeah, we have a high there, so it's going to go west. No, it depends on the position of it as well, position of the high pressure. Now, there is a scenario, and what you're going to see in some of the model runs, where the low could be like this, and if we got a high out here and the oranges reach all the way here, that this could get funneled and bend back into the United States. That's what the Canadian model is saying, right? And I'll get to that. Sorry for the spoiler. But, of course, the GFS doesn't do that because that it's going to kind of merge or interact with the trough. So even though there's a high here, it's going to kind of eat away at it because we have another low. It's protecting it here too, or protecting the East Coast anyway. So it's kind of like two bodyguards, right? And it's going to say, nope, you can't go here. And it's going to essentially leave the United States or leave the East Coast. Now, the Canadian model, like, completely different, right? Pretty much. Not in the sense that it's going to pass north of the islands, although I think even there they do bring it a bit farther south than what the GFS had. They do forecast a little bit faster of a motion, all right, because GFS had it at this exact same spot 24 hours later than the Canadian does, so a little bit faster, and that slightly faster motion is what's going to keep it on that westerly path a little bit more. Now, at first glance, you're like, okay, it's going to go out to sea. I mean, it already started bending to the north, pretty much on Bermuda, right? But notice the cutoff low that could cut off of the front here is what the model's been trending at today. It's been a new trend in the models for today. And that sort of, that low is over here instead of the GFS had it out here. And we got high pressure now that's almost sort of like in here, all right? So now what that does is pretty much force it to go into New England. And that's what's going to happen in this model run here. All right, you can see pretty much making a Nantucket / Boston like a landfall. That's like insane. All right, and then kind of loops, makes a left turn, and just loops back into northeast. Literally, pretty much just like Henri. All right, except slightly east. It's like an Henri and Sandy being replayed. All right, so that would obviously be like a more worst case scenario. Let's show you the 500 millibar heights to show you what I mean. All right, you can see. All right, as we fast forward the clock here, you can see, right, there's blocking high pressure, I mean, to the north up here, so it really can't go anywhere but this way because the cutoff low or this trough is kind of like farther west. So that kind of just bring it in. Sort of like, again, what we had with Sandy. That trough dug down over land and then allowed it to curl into the United States. Obviously, if we had with Sandy, if the trough was offshore, it would not curl in the United States. Matter of fact, it would just go probably offshore. All right, so that trough and the high to the east, trough to the west, high to the east will be influencing it. And the Euro, I find, is a good hybrid between what the GFS and the Canadian are saying. One goes radically away from the coast, the other one brings it radically on the coast. Europeans kind of like in the middle. It kind of like almost settles the debate. Like, all right, guys, this is what's going to happen. Now, this isn't what's going to happen, but sort of an analogy there. But again, passing awfully close to the islands, even closer, I think, than what the Canadian had. Then moving to the north. And by the way, something could spin up closer to the east coast due to that trough and whatever is left of Teresa. Some could quick spin up east coast could see as well. And the Euro kind of brings it close to the U.S. coast, but more of a St. John, Halifax kind of landfall. So we'll be watching that as well, and you can see it in the steering. So that is it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely stay tuned for updates. This will be an interesting one to watch for sure. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Until next time, I will catch you guys in the next video.